The meeting of the Planning Board of the Township of Old Bridge. I'd like everybody to stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Lennox?
Here.
Mr. Agopian?
Here.
Mr. De Palma?
Here.
Mr. Lauer?
Here.
Mr. Renna?
Here.
Mr. Petty?
Here.
Ms. Masella?
Here.
Mr. McIsaac?
Here.
Mr. Brennan? Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
And Chairwoman Ken.
Here. Okay, we have the minutes of April 25th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lenning,
Second.
second by Mr. Lauer. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Ken.
Yes. Minutes of May 23rd, 2024. A motion?
I'll move it. I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lauer, seconded by Mr. Lenning. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Ken.
Yes. Under resolutions, we have 69-2020P Oak 18 LLC, extension of time. Vina, did you have anything to say on that?
No, not really, but they just need some time because they're revising their plans. They need to come back. So they've asked for an extension. It was a project that was approved by the planning board almost 4 years ago.
Vina, is that the one next to the Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, that is correct. It's a triangular shaped lot and they were proposing a strip mall.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion to grant the extension?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Lauer,
Second.
seconded by Mr. De Palma. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Ken.
Yes. Consistency review. Ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge, Chapter 250 of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge entitled Old Bridge Township Land Development Ordinance by amending 250-60 entitled Optional Development Techniques, generally 250-61 entitled Density Transfer Option, and 250-62 entitled Cluster Option.
So
You want to give a brief?
yes, good evening, board. So, as you know, in the past, I've been going through the land development ordinance, trying to clean it up and fix many of the things. This is something that came across. I've always said I'm not a big fan of general development plans. We have two of them. One is the Oaks one and Woodhaven, which were approved 30 years ago, and now they're being constructed. Some of the planning principles have changed. They're kind of outdated, but we're still stuck with them because those were approved GDPs. This is a section of the ordinance which talks about alternate alternate development standards, wherein we have density option, cluster zoning, and then plan development. The general development plans were part of the plan development. The issue that I came across when reviewing this ordinance was the density transfer option. The way it's defined and the way it's written is completely incorrect, because density transfer was traditionally used to preserve farmland and transfer the development rights onto another property that was more, that had more potential to be developed. So, for example, if you have a farm, you preserve the farm, but if the farm is zoned for R20 or R40, you transfer the development rights from that farm onto another area. This becomes your sending area, and then there is another receiving area where you transfer the density. The way this ordinance was crafted, it doesn't talk about preservation of land. And also, it allows you to take into consideration environmentally constrained land. But environmentally constrained land is constrained, it's not developable. So, why would you get density credit or density for that environmentally constrained land? You shouldn't be getting it. So, conceptually, it was defined incorrectly. So I recommended to the council that we should eliminate this because density transfer can be applied to a smaller lot as small as 5 acres. So I have been approached by developers where they want to cash in the option and they have reached out to me saying, can we put in more density? Can we preserve a part of it as open space, environmentally constrained land, and then get more density? That's not how it works. So I am recommending that we eliminate that section. The other portion is the cluster zoning option. In Old Bridge, we have 29 cluster developments. These cluster developments were done with the idea that a portion of the property would be preserved as open space, and in lieu of preserving that open space, you would have smaller lots. So if the underlying zone was R20, if the underlying zone was, R20, then you could develop those properties with R7, which means instead of a 20,000 square foot lot, you could create a 7,000 square foot lot. You would get slightly more density, but at the same time, you could preserve a significant portion of it for open space. But the way it was done in the past, there are no development standards for it. So literally for the zoning officer, it's like a guessing game. We try to look at the lots, we see, oh, maybe the R7 standards apply, maybe the R5. I'm not recommending that we eliminate it, but what I'm recommending is that we change the number. So if you could get 60 dwelling units, you could still opt for a cluster zone. I'm just pushing that to 100 so that it becomes a little more difficult to qualify for cluster zoning, because even if we have to create such areas, there are other ways and other mechanisms that we can use to rezone larger properties. So those are the changes. I think it's very consistent with the master plan. Our master plan has recommended re-evaluating our ordinances periodically, and that's what's going on. So I would really recommend that the planning board support this change of ordinance.
Anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the change?
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Casey, second by Mr. Lauer. Roll call.
Mr. Lennox?
Sorry, Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Renna?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairman Ken.
Yes. Okay, applications. 57-2023P LED on wheels, Zone EDO3, Block 10258, Lot 10, 1795 Highway 9. Major preliminary and final site plan with C variances. And the applicant proposes to construct a 6,325 one-story commercial building with 15 parking spaces and a stormwater management basin for mobile outdoor advertising business. Mr. Himmelman.
Good? Okay, great. Good evening, members of the board. We're here tonight. My name is David Himmelman. I represent the applicant LED on Wheels, and I know you've had an opportunity to review the plans and your professionals' reports, but I'm just going to give a brief overview to put the application into perspective, and then we can proceed with our application and presentation. I do want to just say I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I know you have a full board, and I know we have upcoming July 4th holiday, so I appreciate that. As Chairman Cannon indicated, so the applicant is LED on Wheels. And of course, we're here tonight for major preliminary and final site plan, and we've got several bulk variances, which we will review in greater detail. For the record, the property is Block 10258, Lot 10, of course, here in Old Bridge, and the address is 1795 Highway North. As you know from the application materials, basically the applicant's business is to provide LED trucks advertising services, also known as a mobile outdoor advertising. As you've indicated, the applicant is prepared and will move forward, subject to your approval, of course, to remove the existing structure that's on the property and construct an approximately 6,325 square foot footprint building and associated lighting and stormwater detention facilities and landscaping. The property is approximately 0.71 acres and is located in your ED03 zone. You will hear from the applicant directly as to several operational issues that have been raised in your engineer and planner's report. We also have our engineer, Mark Lieber, who will testify on the engineering and site plan aspects of this, obviously, and review all the planning. Andrew Ferrando, our traffic consultant, is here as well, and our architect, Inkinta Malaria. She will go through the architectural features as well. So, Chairman Count, I don't have any further points to make on my opening, and if you would allow, we can proceed.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. Frank? Oh, come on. You're going to have to be sworn in.
Good evening. Board. Just going to swear you in. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
For the record, could you state your name and spell it?
Francisco Ferrero. Francisco, Francisco, Ferrero, Ferreiro.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Ferreira. Just for the record, if you would just enlighten the board on your affiliation with the applicant, which is LED on Wheels, and if you could explain a little bit about your company, that would be helpful.
I'm the CEO of LED on Wheels. And basically what we do is we have small box vans with LED signs around the whole truck, on the sides and the rear. And we're hired to do advertising. All over the place. I mean, we do political events, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, corporate, all kinds of different stuff. I've even worked here in Old Bridge. We've been in business for 10 years. We have grown, thank God. And we are currently housed in a shop in Perth Amboy, a small shop, and we have outgrown it for a long time. I was looking for a new place and then found this place here in Old Bridge. Started looking into it and, went for it. We bought the property. The property is an abandoned property in tremendous dismay. I mean, I don't know if anybody has driven by there, but if you're from here, I'm sure you've passed it once or twice. It's been abandoned for over 10 years. It's a site, it's a source site. I think what we're proposing to do with it will be a great enhancement to the area, and that area specifically that's growing, and it's modern now to have this abandoned house that's ugly as can be, and there's no fixing this house. I mean, it is completely deteriorated. So our idea is to create our new home base for our LED trucks. We also do LED signs. But we're not at a retail level, nor are we in an automotive shop, nor do we even open every day. Really, our shop is by appointment only. We sell signs to towns and school systems and commercials, owners. So if ever somebody comes to visit our location, and that's the purpose for having a small showroom in the front to display our different LED products. But if I have a customer come to the showroom once a month, that may be a lot. The usage that we're gonna, the in and out, the traffic, which was a concern for the board or the engineer, whoever it was, is very minor. Like I said, we're not a retail location. We sell LED signs. The public driving up and down is not going to pull into our shop to buy an LED sign. I mean, no, we probably will be there. We're really by appointment only. As far as our trucks are concerned, our trucks will be housed in the location, but our trucks go out to do work. So, we're going to probably keep 4 to 6 trucks there at most. Actually, 4, because the other 2 trucks, I let the drivers that drive those 2 trucks keep them at home to be convenient to them. A lot of our work is New York City, and they live in Teaneck. They'd probably kill me if I made them drive to Old Bridge to then go into New York City to get there by 9 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of tough. So I try to be convenient as possible, accommodating as possible. And they have driveways, so I let them keep their trucks at home. So we'll probably be storing 4 trucks here. And, our trucks are very expensive trucks. They sleep at night on the streets now. Our trucks are, LED screens, almost $200,000 trucks. It's like we had a Lamborghini, but we don't. And, they stay out at night. This was always my dream to have this flagship location. And, thank God, we've done rather well in the last couple of years, and I'm hoping to accomplish that and have a nice home for each one of our trucks, where they're out of the weather, out of the snow, out of the rain, and just take better care of them. Again, the big concern of the in and out, we don't work every single day. We have our busy season, and we have our slow season. January and February, we're lucky if we get 5 jobs. Right now, June, July, these couple months, yeah, thank God we're, knock on wood, we're working every day. But that working every day for those 4 trucks will consist of a driver coming in the morning, taking his truck, going to do his job, coming back, parking the truck, and going home. If some days I have to put a sign together, and I have to work in the actual location, that involves myself, my partner, and maybe 1 employee. So, at maximum 3, 4 people at this location, a couple days out of the week, maybe. So the usage is very light compared to a retail operation, and that's the impression that we wanted to bring across to the board, that we're not a retail location. We're not going to have traffic in and out all the time. Traffic is actually very minimal compared to any other business that you could probably put there.
So as far as, thank you for that detailed description. As far as any loading operationally, are you going to be having any loading vehicles come to the site?
Once or twice a year, we receive product. This product is brought in small box trucks as well. I take advantage when my manufacturer has discounted deals on product, and I load up. This is another reason why we outgrew our other location, because I try to stock up when I get those special prices, so I could charge low prices as well. And then, like right now, I have a stock in my shop, and I had to stock more product in a friend's warehouse because I don't have enough room. So this is the other, main point for this location. 1 bay is probably, half of a bay full of product. And again, that's 2 deliveries per year, basically.
And in terms of, I'm assuming for trash and recycling collection, that'll be private, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you said you approximately have, what, less than 5 employees?
Yeah, well, with drivers, we have a total of 6 drivers.
But that will be working potentially at the property?
That would be working at the property, just 2.
Okay, fair enough.
And then plus myself and my partner.
Right. And you said you're not there 5 days a week?
Not at all.
And from the design of the building, so on the lower level, I understand, will be your showroom, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's going to be by appointment only?
By appointment only, yeah.
Okay, and that's for any of your customers who want to come see the display of the sign?
And to be able to see the different LED screens that exist, the different pixel page, the definition of each different ones, indoor, outdoors, a whole array of them out there. And that's just to be able to show clients the different product that we carry.
So this is going to be for your operation. It's a single user. You're not going to have any tenants in the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Frank, thank you. I don't have any further questions. Do you want to add anything, or you think you've covered everything?
I mean, besides that, as far as the other concerns that were brought up, trees, parking, all that, yeah, whatever the board requires of me, I'm willing to do to make this happen and abide whatever you guys need me to do. That's all.
Terrific.
I just wanted to, so when you take and construct an LED sign and then you deliver it to a place for temporary use?
I'm sorry?
You deliver it to an event or a place for temporary use. It's not permanently installed.
No, we don't do rental. That's LED rental, and I stay away from that because the logistics
Oh, so you
are
actually
incredible.
install-
We do permanently mounted signs, like you would put in front of City Hall, like you would put in front of the schools, and things like that. Yeah, the LED rental business is very lucrative, but you gotta have trucks, transport them, set them up, break them down, bring them back. I'm not getting involved in that.
And some of your customers are public entities, like schools.
Most of our customers are public entities. Cities and school boards are a majority of our customers.
Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Yes, Mr. Lau.
If you got approved tonight, when do you anticipate moving in? Once the bill, I mean, do you have a time schedule?
Oh, it's still a long feat that's got to get done. We got to knock this house down.
Right, I
We got to
understand.
level the property. I'm hoping we could, I'm a very optimistic person. And if you ask me, I would say 6 months. But that's probably unrealistic with permits, with inspections.
Okay,
You
so
know,
6 months to a year is a reasonable?
I hope to God.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else? Okay,
We
Is
all
there
good
anyone
there?
from the public that has any questions regarding or comments? Oh, I'm
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Bernie Tetrell. I'm the traffic engineer who made those comments on environmental resolutions. One thing you brought up that I hadn't heard about, you said 4 to 6 trucks on site. Are they, what size trucks are these? Are they parked in the building at all times, not in the parking spaces then?
These are our LED trucks. They're gonna be housed inside.
Okay,
They are 12-foot box vans is what they
Okay.
are. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
they're 12-foot trucks, small little things.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure when you said box, box truck could be fairly large, but
Yes,
you're talking
yeah.
like basically a van then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No public? Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Don't go anywhere.
I'm not going nowhere.
Mr. Lieber is our engineer and planner, and he's going to be testifying, so we'll have to have him sworn in and qualified, please.
Absolutely. When you're ready, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, my name is Mark, M-A-R-C, and my last name is Lieber, L-E-B like Brian, E-R.
Good evening, Mr. Lieber. Would you please give a quick overview of your CV and your professional qualifications, and just confirm that your license is in good standing? I know you've testified before this board before, but indulge us.
Yes, good evening once again. Been here previously. I did graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Drexel University. Following graduation, I returned to school part-time and completed the MBA program at Rutgers Graduate School, and was licensed in 2003 as an engineer in New Jersey, in 2005 as a planner, and in 2006 I completed the Certified Municipal Engineering Certificate Program. I was living in Howell Township. I was appointed as a member of the Howell Township Planning Board in 2007, where I also served on the Environmental Commission and the Affordable Housing Advisory Commission.
Okay, but I think you've been
Okay.
here before.
Oh, thank you very much. It's always good to be here.
Thank you, Chairman. Do you have any handouts, Mr. Lieber, before we get into your testimony?
Yes, I have one.
Okay. So I guess we can have that marked as A1, if you just describe that also.
Sure. This is a pack of 4 pages. First page is an aerial photograph showing the property in question And the 3 pages behind that include photos taken of the property today. It's today's date.
Mr. Lieber, while their handouts are moving around, I understand that you, under your supervision, you designed the proposed site plan. I think the last revision date was April,
10/12.
is that right?
10/12.
Oh, 10/12, right. And if you would obviously go over that and discuss your exhibits, and then we can go over the environmental resolutions memorandums and the other outside memorandums as well. And I presume you will cover all those issues.
Sure. While that's going around the room, I just want to give a little background information. It's block 10258, and it's lot 10. The street address here is 1795 Route 9. This property is situated on the northbound side of the highway. It's just north of the intersection with Schulmeister Road. There is a gas station on that corner, which is currently closed. We are the next lot after the gas station. Now, the property has 144 feet of frontage on the highway, and the total depth is around 215 feet. So the total lot area here is about 0.71 acres. 0.71 acres. The zoning is EDO3, which is the Economic Development Opportunity 3 zone. And this lot is an existing undersized lot because in the EDO3 zone, the ordinance requires 3 acres, but we only have 0.71. Now, there's another nonconformity which pertains to the lot frontage. In this zone, the requirement is 150 feet of frontage on the highway, and we have 144 feet existing, so that's a minor deviation. You did hear earlier that on the property, there's a vacant single-family dwelling. There's also a detached garage at the rear of that house. I'm going to go to these photos. So what you see on the cover here, there's a little red flag. That's actually the detached garage, and the house is in the front of that flag. It has like a white, grayish-white roof. In this photo would be to the right, which is south, is that gas station. You'll see the intersection there. And then to our left is another dwelling, and behind us are the ball fields, which are privately owned. I'm sure you're aware, across the highway, they are finishing construction of the new plaza with ShopRite and the Target. I'm going to go to the next page. Top photo here is looking up the driveway. There's the house in some form of disarray, unfortunately. The photo at the bottom is the detached garage in the rear of the property. The property is overgrown. We did do a tree location survey. There are a couple of trees on the property, but for the most part, it is overgrown. If you go to the next page, this is standing on the driveway looking out toward the highway. At the bottom is a picture. You can see the side of the house. The situation here is that the driveway is almost right on the southerly lot line. So the vegetation that you see on the right here is partly on our property, and then it goes off onto the neighboring property. On the last page, you'll see this is looking south along the highway. You'll see the old gas station canopy in the distance. They did put up a fence there recently to keep people off the property. You'll see on the bottom, this is just a photo looking north on the highway. It's pretty straight and clear at this point. So the proposal here is to remove all the existing improvements on the property in order to construct a 2-story, 6,325 square foot footprint building. It's a partial 2-story. It's not a full 2-story in the sense that the part of the building nearest the highway has a second floor office. The access to the highway is strictly right in and right out. The entrance will have an island in the middle to channelize cars entering and exiting. And within the property, we have a parking lot that can accommodate 15 vehicles. At the rear of the property, we have a place for a refuse enclosure. which would include 2 dumpsters, one for regular trash, the other one for recycling. And then just beyond that is an area to accommodate our stormwater. The utility services here, unfortunately, sewer is not available, but we do have provisions on our plan for a new septic system. The existing septic associated with the house would be closed and abandoned under the direction of the county, and we would have a public water connection to the new building. We did provide landscaping and a lighting design for the property, which would include new LED lights and new plantings as well. One thing I do want to point out is that during the review of the project, rear yard setback variance was identified. Unfortunately, my office didn't identify it. We had been under the impression that the rear yard setback requirement was 50 feet, when in turn it's 100 feet. Our building is set back 51 feet, so we are in fact requesting a rear yard setback variance. And then there are other items of relief, which I'll go to the engineer's report, specifically on page 4. Rear and side lot line parking area setback. The code requires a parking setback of 25 feet. Our side yard southern parking area setback 5 feet. That's on the gas station side. The next item is the parking area and commercial building setback. Minimum required setback for a parking area and commercial building is 15 feet. We're proposing 5 feet from the building. And I believe that's to a handicap accessible parking stall in the front of the property. There's an item here about buffers, that a 50-foot wide buffer measured from the property line should be established along any adjoining property which is either undeveloped or residential zone or residential use. Property to the north, our neighbor on Lot 9 is residential, therefore we'd have to provide a 50-foot buffer. And our plan provides 25.68 feet, which is the distance from the lot line to our building. Item 5 is regarding the number of parking spaces provided. Now, we have shown on our sheet 3 that there are 15 spaces on the property. The calculation does not include the bays within the building as spaces that we could use to store the LED trucks. However, this particular use is not really defined in the town code. So when we were calculating the parking requirement, I couldn't find a category that fit this. So I figured, all right, the building has bays, I'll just pick auto repair. And that requirement was we had to provide 4 parking spaces per bay, which would result in a need of 12 spaces, and we had 15, so I figured we were okay. But an alternate parking calculation would be to separate the showroom and then the upstairs office. And under that requirement, we would need 21 spaces. So it seems that we would need a parking variance, which I don't feel is really a problem here, because based upon the specific use of the property and the testimony you heard previously from the applicant himself, there's only a handful of people that are going to be in this building on any given day. They're not even there every day of the week. And this type of use is not something where someone driving up Route 9 is going to say, oh, I think I'm going to stop in here to, talk about LED billboards and trucks. It's not that type of an operation.
Mr.
So
Lieber, we show 15 spaces, correct?
we show 15
And 21, you're saying, would be required under this?
under the calculation.
Under the calculation. Okay.
Right.
Excuse me if I may, Madam Chairwoman, I just want to clarify, because I'm looking at least the site plans that I have in front of me, and it looks like it says 14 spaces on there. Am I missing one? Or-
There's one right in front of the building, near the highway.
Oh, on the other side, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't misstate it in any resolution.
Nope. And then if, we do have the architect here tonight who's going to present really the showpiece of the project, which is the building itself. But you'll notice that there are 4 bays that are available. So even if one bay is full of inventory, we could still use 3 bays for additional parking. Other than that, there was a issue brought up about state code, which is a newer requirement for electric vehicle parking, which we will comply with. And in the last few days, I did have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Tom Miller at Old Bridge Fire District 2. I discussed with him his comments about the site and the accessibility of his apparatus, and we have worked out a solution. I don't have any reservations about putting that on the record, that I can address all of his comments. And I also had an opportunity to speak with Rakesh this week about complying with some of the technical comments in his June 25th report, which, we'll go through toward the end of the meeting. Other than that, I do want to mention that we have a traffic engineer tonight who's going to talk about the trips generated from this use, which are remarkably low. However, we are on a state highway, so we do need an access permit from the NJDOT, which is in the works. Are there any questions at this point?
Board have any questions? Yes.
Mr. Lieber, this question's in my mind. In the report, it mentioned a couple of times make-ready parking.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is?
Sure. Into the state code under electric vehicle parking, a certain portion of your parking has to be what's called make-ready, which would, for new construction like this, we would provide all the conduit and available circuitry on the service panel in the building for future car charging. So we agreed to do that.
Okay, so it's not necessarily where they're actually charging, it's a parking spot that's put aside for that?
Correct. Now, ironically, which is something I don't understand myself, is that for every EV spot you give on your property, you get a credit for another spot. Intuitively, they should take away a spot because now you're reserving something for a limited number of cars.
We can't.
So, for example, if we provide 2 EV-ready stalls, then my parking requirement, where I'm providing 15, now I get a bonus and I could say I'm providing 17. But in any sense, we do agree to comply with the requirement.
And my other question, is there a minimum lot size allowed for, because I noticed that you're using the septic system. Does the state require a minimum lot size, do you know of?
It's not a minimum lot size as much as it is a maximum flow. So for example, 16,000 square feet of straight office would be the most you can construct on a property without exceeding a flow of 2,000 gallons a day, which is the limit for discharge to groundwater. An office like this, there's no washing machines, there's no showers, it's less flow than a single-family dwelling. So this type of use is eligible for a septic permit.
Okay, so it's allowed.
It's allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Chairman Cannon, board members. Mr. Lieber, thank you.
Yeah, I'll still be here if
You'll
you.
be here. Andrew?
Is our engineer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have any concerns or questions?
No questions right now.
Okay.
And Madam Chairman, just for the record, member
Oh,
of the
the
public.
public. Anyone from the public have any questions of this witness? Seeing no hands, so
Great.
close the public.
Madam Chairwoman, our next witness is Andrew Ferrer, and he's our traffic consultant, and he's going to address the traffic aspects of the site plan. Andrew, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Andrew.
I'm just
swear
going
me in?
to, sorry, I swear you in?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And as you're about to do, could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Andrew Ferranda, Feranda. I'm with the firm Shropshire Associates. I'm a partner at the firm, traffic consultant.
Mr. Ferranda, good evening. If you would just give a brief overview of your professional qualifications, and presume your licenses are all active, but if just to have you qualified as an expert, thank you.
Sure. Professional engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey. I am also a professional traffic operations engineer. It's a higher certification, PTOE. And I am also a certified municipal engineer. I use that certified municipal engineer because I review for boards. Cranberry Township, I am their traffic consultant, as well as Freehold Township in Monmouth County. I'm their traffic consultant. I've been between 100 and 125 boards throughout the state, both planning, zoning, and county boards.
We accept. I accept.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Good evening, Mr. Ferranda. My understanding is you've been retained by our client to review the traffic aspects of this project, as well as the filing of an access permit with the DOT, correct?
I have.
All right, so would you just briefly give us an overview of why this particular application requires a DOT access permit, and then we can get into some of the traffic issues as well. Thank you.
Sure. This site is along Route 9, which is the state highway. As such, it requires DOT approval. It's their jurisdiction. We do have to file an access application. In this case, the site is a very low trip generator and therefore would qualify for a minor access application. By low trip generator, what do I mean? As traffic engineers, we look at the peak hours, and the DOT also looks at peak hours. The DOT has a trip generation program called HAPS, Highway Access Permit System, where they tell us the number of trips that will be generated by a particular use. This use being a specialty trade contractor type use would have 13 trips in a morning commuter peak and 15 trips in an afternoon commuter peak. What does that mean? The office workers would come and go to the site, drop off their car, pick up a truck, drive around. So it is a very low trip generator. Typically, you would have to get up into more than 500 trips per day. This site has 75 trips per day. 500 trips would be a major access application. This definitely is a minor based on the few trips that the site would be generating.
Very good. So should the board act favorably upon our application, you would then proceed with the application for a minor access permit, is that correct?
Yes, we are required to, we would.
Right. And typically, what's the timeline for that type of an approval from the DOT?
That approval is typically, and I'm going to say 90 days, DOT never works in real time. 90 days is typically, it might push out to more than 90 days, a couple months. But that's typically the time frame we're looking at. And there's nothing complicated about this access. It's straightforward. It's right in, right out. It's on a divided highway, so there's no ability to make any other movements than right in, right out. As well, the driveway is configured with a pork chop in it to reinforce the right in, right out movements.
Fair enough. And having worked with you on other applications, is it fair to say that typically you would wait for a board, in this case, the planning board, to approve the application because there could be revisions to the plan before you would seek that DOT approval?
I always recommend that the application go before the board and receive the approvals of the board before going to the DOT, because you start the DOT process and something changes here at the board, then the DOT process has to stop and start again. The DOT is not good at stopping and starting. So we will go for that minor access application as soon as we get the board's decision on this application.
Very good. Turning to, I guess, the board's professional engineering report from environmental resolutions, I think on page 11 and 12, they discuss the traffic comments. Is there anything you would like to address in that and/or clarify, or do you believe that it's self-explanatory?
I believe it's self-explanatory. We will comply with what's in the letter. I believe there was a comment about
Non-conforming?
the lot is non-conforming. That's based on the frontage, as was noted earlier, where you have 144 foot of frontage. What does non-conforming to the DOT? That means you have a trip limitation. If you had a wide access, then they would allow you more trips. But our site is such a low trip generator, we're not anywhere near the trip limitation. They would limit the site to 77 trips in the peak period. We have 13 or 15, so we're well below any trip limitation that the DOT would put on the site. So it is non-conforming in the sense that it has a narrow access, but they still will, or a narrow frontage, but they still will allow access to the site with the trip limitation at 77, and we're well below that.
And you're comfortable with the right turn in and right turn out access?
Correct. The right turn in, right turn out is all we can do at this site since there's a median divide. There was a comment about adding a sign in the median. The DOT doesn't like putting signs in the median of an object that potentially could be hit or they have to maintain. We could put signage on the driveway on the site side that says right turn out, but really the pork chop and the way the driveway is configured for right turns and in and out. And also, this is mostly employees. There might be a few visitors, patrons to the site looking at the showroom, but this is mostly employees on a regular basis. So We will agree to put whatever signage, we can work with your engineer for the signage, right turn out, or an arrow on the pavement showing a right turn to reinforce the right out condition.
And as far as the DOT permitting process, they're going to review, I presume, as noted in Environmental Resources memo, that the traffic doesn't back up into the driveway, correct?
Correct.
From the off-street parking, and any right-of-way dedications, they'll look at that
They will
as
look at
well. Okay, and any waiver from the 12-foot minimum edge clearance, they'll look at that also, correct?
Actually, I believe we have more than 12 foot. We have 17 foot to the driveway. So I think we meet the DOT's requirements there.
Okay, very good. Mr. Ferrand, do you think you've covered all your bases? And
I believe we did.
okay, Chairman Cannon, we don't have any further questions of Mr. Ferrand, but your board might or your professionals might.
Do our professionals have any comments?
I think Andy answered all the questions that I have, except for one. And the reason I brought this up, I know about the trips, and I've been on your side of the fence, Andy, and sometimes DOT gets pretty fussy with the trips. You said it qualifies because it's I think called a specialty contractor. Is that something they've been pretty acceptive of on a small site like this, or okay,
small
good.
site.
Specialty use, yeah, right, okay. It's just my concern, I've had it where I had kind of a specialty use and they just were not buying it, and that was why I brought that up.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you.
Does the board have, anybody from the board have any questions of this witness?
Quick question. So the max in and outs you said are going to be 14 during peak at max?
During the peak period, the HAPS program tells us there will be 13, 15 trips.
Okay, so
In
based
and out. Those
based
are
off
in
of that,
and out.
yes. But I mean, based off of the type of business and what you're doing, you're probably looking at
It could be less.
15 a week at certain
Agreed.
points, and in the winter months is a lot less.
I haven't been to my current shop this whole week.
You know, you got to tell me how to get into a business like that where I don't have to go to work every day.
Ditto.
Doesn't mean I don't work. I have an office at home, I sit there and work there. So.
Yeah, the only reason I ask just to make sure, because we do have the pictures doesn't do Route 9 justice, because I don't know when you took these pictures. I would love to know when Route 9 looked like that, looked like a desolate road. I just want to make sure that, so we're looking at max based off the calculations is that, but in reality, it's far, far less.
This is a very low
Yeah.
generator. We have to fit the category that the DOT
Yes.
gives to
Oh,
us.
no, absolutely.
And this is the category we feel fits best. It is a low generator, and we will have to go through the DOT approval process with that minor access permit.
Okay. And what is the hours that they would start and end? Is it like a 9 to 5 or based off of the contract?
Vary tremendously. But let's say 80% of them are 9 to 5,
Okay,
10 to 6, 11 to 7. They're 8-hour shifts.
okay.
And like this week we had a lot of 8 to 4s.
Oh.
So people are
Yep, nope, absolutely.
different kinds.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes.
Just to the proximity, I mean, I've seen the stormwater management stuff that you guys are doing. Has there been a soil test on the site?
That's a better question for the engineer than the traffic.
So Lieber can answer that. Mark, you want to address that?
Yeah, we submitted a report from M&Z Engineering, which is based in Monmouth Junction, dated January 20th, 23.
They did an environmental assessment?
No, this is soils report?
That's what I meant, yeah. So-
Yeah.
Just came back clear because of the gas station next to you? That's my question.
We don't
Nothing
test
leached in?
for that type of soil. What we were testing for is to make sure that the stormwater management could function as designed.
Okay,
Permeability, depth of the water table.
on your site, okay.
I mean, if you're asking about like a contamination
Yeah.
testing, that was not performed.
Okay. All right. For your protection as to, that station is right next to the property,
I'm happy to ask the applicant.
My understanding is that there were several tanks that were removed from the property? Mr. Franny, or you want to just come up and just identify yourself again for the record? Sorry, Andrew.
Francisco Ferrero. So there was 2 oil tanks on the property. We got a professional company to come in, remove the oil tanks, test the soil, do all that stuff, remove the oil tanks, replace oil. All I know is how much I had to pay.
And you got permits for all that, correct?
There was permits for all that. The permits were cleared. We received an NRA, I think it's called, from EPA, which
And NFA?
no further action, NFA. No further action required, and that was all taken care of.
And we could supply that also.
Yeah, no, actually, the building department has it. They have everything. The fire official in the building department, they have all the paperwork, all the receipts, the NFA letter, they got everything.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's one of the first things we did, yeah.
If I may, yeah, to your point on the contamination with a gas station, I had a project about 20 years ago when a NJDOT project, actually Neptune, and there were several gas stations. And the groundwater contamination is an issue, and it typically it doesn't go away necessarily because it's in the ground, it gets in the water table, it starts to migrate around in the water table. So you could test here, have no contamination, come back a year or two later, and now you got contamination. So I understand your concern there. I've dealt with that.
I don't think Old Bridge has any contaminated sites. Needn't worry about that. Need more. Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Next is our architect. There she is.
Just make,
Oh, public.
Oh,
anybody for
public,
the
right.
public?
Right.
Seeing no hands,
Yeah.
go to your next witness.
Come on down. Why don't you just state your name for the record, please, and we can have you sworn in and qualified?
My name is Enkela Malelari, Enkela, last name Malellari.
and would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Terrific. And Cal, would you just give a brief overview of your CV and your professional qualifications so we can have you admitted as an expert in architecture because you're going to testify as such? Thank you.
Sure. I am a graduate of NJIT with a bachelor's in architecture. I also have a master's of science in construction management, also from NJIT. I've been licensed for 8 years. My license is current in New Jersey, and I also hold the license in other states. I have presented in front of other boards, just never in front of you guys, and I am the principal at Brick City Reconstruction in Newark, New
Great.
Jersey.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Brick City Reconstruction.
Terrific. Now, you brought some handouts, or is it something that's already been filed with the applicant?
It has already been filed, and you can see it on the screen. I just
Very
brought
good.
myself a very giant print that I thought I was going to put up on a board, but I guess I'm not.
Fair enough. Okay, would you just go over the sort of the architectural features, talking about the facade treatments and go over the floor plan so the board can get a sense of what we propose? Thank you.
Most certainly. So the sheet that you're looking at on the screen right now, the A00, that's a rendering, and that's looking from Route 9 as if you were coming onto the site. So that's your west corner view of the building. On the ground floor, we have the door into the showroom, and then on the right side, that facade, you see the bays, the 4 bays where the cars are going to get worked on, and then on the upper level, that's the office space as well. For the treatment, we're considering a stucco finish as well as a combination of this terracotta metal finish with a vertical and a horizontal composition to give the building a little bit of a scale adjustment. And if we can move on to the next sheet. So this sheet shows you really the 2D elevations for all sides. So the upper left corner, you have the front elevation. That's the portion of the building that's really 2-story. Lower level is the showroom, upper level is the offices. And then as you move through the drawing, it kind of rotates you around the building with the back. And then on the lower one, the longer elevation, that's your right side, and that's where you see 3 shorter bays and then a taller one in case our client needs to have a bigger LED project. And then when you wrap around, you just have some regular man doors, and then you see again those windows for that office portion on the right side. And then if you go on the next page, this is really where you see the floor plan. On the right side is your ground floor, so you have a double door coming into the showroom. There's also a small office there for the client when they have their client meetings. And then in the back portion, that's where the garage area is, right, with the bays and where the cars are going to be worked on. You take the stairs, you go up, and then you move on to the right side of that sheet and that gray area. And that's where you have two offices, a conference room, an open floor plan for like a cubicle office area, as well as a kind of like luncheonette area as well. So the garage area is a 2-story height, whereas the front, where the showroom and the offices are, that's its own separate 2-story portion of the building. And that is architecturally what's happening.
Very, very well done. Thank you so much. Chairwoman Cannon, we don't have any further direct questions, but you or your professionals might.
Okay, do you have anything to say? Or comments? The board? I think it looks nice.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Public?
Public.
You know, it might not have many of the public here, but we have to still just say
No,
it
of course.
for the record.
Of course. Chairwoman Cannon, if you don't have any objection of the board, what I'd like to suggest is could we go through the rest of the memorandum from environmental resolutions, and then we have the memorandum, of course, from Mr. Miller, and then we have one from Gary Lavello for the Shade Tree Commission. Mr. Lieber will walk us through those and go over any of the technical comments.
Sure. Before we get into technical comments, I want to talk a little bit about planning.
Fair enough.
Because the application does require a number of variances and design waivers as well. Now, there are two analyses we can apply to this project. You have your hardship or C1 analysis. You also have your flexible C2 analysis. And this application falls under both. I'll tell you why. Of course, we're an undersized lot, but if you apply the literal requirements of the 100-foot rear yard setback, as well as our 50-foot side yard setback to the neighbor to the north, it leaves very, very small area on this property to construct something that's viable. So to offer that as a hardship, we do need some relief for the setbacks to provide a project that's economically feasible. And on the other hand, I always look to the C2 analysis because it's always more conservative, saying that, you know, the benefits of granting those deviations outweighs the detriments, and that's where I wanted to say that these are really like the best types of projects, because when you think about planning, really what you're talking about is compatibility. And in this type of application, we are not proposing a nuisance, we're not a major traffic generator, we're not a major stormwater generator, we're not a noise generator, and frankly, we're not clear-cutting woodlands, we're not working in wetlands, we're not in a stream corridor, we're not in a flood zone, and all those things are usually associated with detriments. So I think the most important thing is really for the board to consider, what is somebody going to see when they drive by this property? And you see what you're going to see, which is obviously a substantial improvement over what's currently out there today. You know, and as far as some of these design waivers, and with regard to the existing nonconformities of the lot itself, really the lot width is imperceptible. I don't think anybody driving by is going to say, hey, that lot's 6 feet deficient in width. I don't really expect that. As far as the lot area, there isn't really much we could do to increase the lot area. But importantly is that we're not asking for variances from coverage. So that's really an indicator that we're not really overdeveloping this undersized lot. So I think that when the board looks at the various aspects of planning and how it applies to the relief that's requested, I really don't see any detriment. I think it's a nice lot. It's on Route 9, obviously a major thoroughfare. It's consistent with what the township goals are for the development of Route 9, and as well as the creation of the EDO zones many years ago. So I think it's a huge improvement, and I really think that it's a benefit to the township as well as the area. So that would cover the planning analysis. Jumping back to engineering, I did review the report from June 25th, and I feel we can comply with each of these comments. I want to point out just a couple ones that maybe warrant further discussion, which would be number 18 on page 6 about trash enclosures. I'll tell you, I typically note a trash enclosure to be 1 foot higher than the dumpster inside. So for example, an 8-yard dumpster is 6.5 feet high. So that would mean that the wall has to be 7.5 feet high. Or if the board wanted, we could just have a 6-foot-high wall and you'll see a little bit of dumpster poked above it. The other thing we could do is we could look at getting smaller dumpsters. But I want to mention that because I believe in the township, if you have a trash enclosure where the wall surrounding it's more than 6 feet high, it's a variance. So, you know, I would request up to 7 feet. Again, I don't think it's perceptible, but I do want to be conservative in the event that they do get an 8-yard dumpster, it's not sticking out above the wall. The other item I want to point out is the details on the freestanding sign that's in front of the property.
That's comment 19 you're referring to?
Yeah, we had shown, actually, we might have submitted it as a separate item. Just give me 1 second.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. So the sign would be a changeable message, you know, an LED sign.
Makes sense.
Right.
Static would be kind of,
You gotta change the letters by hand?
So there are requirements in the township for a sign that does change messages, and we would adhere to the sign change increment or the timing that's required. And actually, the State Department of Highway, you know, DOT has their own requirements for something like that, changing messages. So the sign is set back from the right-of-way line. So I did want to point out that this sign will be changing the message. It'll be illuminated, you know, almost lit up like a screen.
and we'll submit the details for that, correct?
Yeah. One of the ones that I've noted here, we don't need a loading zone on the property. We do not receive any tractor trailers at this property at all. And due to the infrequent occurrence of deliveries, you know, whatever trucks are going to be on the property would probably be no larger than a UPS truck for deliveries. There's a comment about non-residential affordable housing fees. We will comply with that. Down to general comments 24. We do have a survey that does include all the features along the highway. We had to do that for the DOT permit process. I'll be happy to submit that. There was a question about the bus stop. While we do front the highway where there is a bus lane, the bus stop is actually further south of us. So we're along the remnants of the bus lane, but not where the bus stop is. Site distance is open and clear here. The highway is straight. There's no obstructions. 26, Mr. Ferranda addressed, that was the proposal to construct a one-way sign on the highway median so that when someone's exiting, they see across the median. That's really not encouraged by the DOT, but we can put a sign at our driveway reinforcing that there's no left turn permitted. We did do a garbage truck turning template. I had emailed it over today. I'm sure it's not been reviewed yet, but that's okay. That's really, you know, front-end garbage truck. He'll be able to pick up the trash, make a K-turn, and exit the property. I'm only going to point out the ones that I can't satisfy or I wanted to put more detail on. We will do a recycling plan. That's number 32. We provided testimony on 33 already. 34, I've been in touch with the fire marshal. I could address his comments. We did get a memo from the Township Tree Conservation Officer, Mr. Lavallo. We take no objection to his letter. Under site plan, I don't have any issues with the site plan comments. Grading and utility plans, I discussed with Rakesh, there's a proposed retaining wall. We call it a landscape wall. I try not to use the word retaining wall unless the wall is more than 2.5 feet high. So this is less than 2.5 feet. I call it a landscape wall. We're going to pull that wall back away from our neighbor to allow for more room to disturb and to construct the wall without affecting their property. So that we can address. We don't need any easements from the neighbor. let's see here, additional spot elevations, that's fine. Roof drain information, that's fine. Wall details, septic system, that's fine. Stormwater management. So the project does not disturb more than 1 acre, which would trigger stormwater management rules, but we are proposing more than a 1/4 acre of regulated impervious, so we do have to meet water quality requirements as well as major development cutbacks for runoff, which we've been able to do by constructing a detention base at the rear of the property. Rakesh had asked me if I could change the discharge to be a much wider spillway to cut down the velocity if there ever was a overflow event, and that's certainly something that we can do, which is also going to be reviewed by Freehold Soil Conservation District. What other things were in here? There are some technical comments about the stormwater design, which we can address. Item 56, we have to provide an O&M manual that's standard. Landscape lighting, there's more of an overlap of landscaping comments from Mr. Lavallo as well as within this letter, which requests more trees and perhaps a change out of species of plants, which is fine. I believe we did address the traffic testimony tonight, Mr. Ferranda. And then lastly, there's a section on details, which we have no issue providing that information or adding whatever details are not on the plans to the plans. That's really all in the letter. I mean, there's really nothing I take exception with. I just wanted to point out the issue with the height of the trash enclosure wall as a possible item that needs relief. And that's really it.
Thank you, Mr. Lieber. Does anyone have any questions about Mr. Lieber's planning testimony or the memorandums that he reviewed and the conditions?
Okay, engineering, yes.
Yeah, I had, actually, Rakesh kind of reminded me of a couple things here. On item 55D, number A, testimony should be provided how this area will remain stable as an access point as it collects the runoff from the parking lot.
Yeah, we were going to put in either a gravel or an open cell paver in that area to maintain stability for a lawnmower to get into the detention area.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. And then under item F, he mentioned that the applicant should discuss pre-treatment for the basin.
So there is a requirement for this type of a use to have a pretreatment, which we were going to have to work into the amended design to be more or less a very small area with stone that would separate solids and any floatables within the runoff from the parking lot before it enters the stormwater basin. So we would have to fit that into the revision to the plan.
And then, okay. And the only thing that I had, and it kind of goes back to the traffic thing. Assuming this is approved, it is a very specific use. So as long as the applicant understands that, you know, in a couple of years you decide to move or get out of this business, it's going to have to all come back because it's, you know, like if this were turned into a, you know, a Meineke or whatever, you're going to generate a lot more traffic. Of course, right off the bat, NJDOT is going to require that, but would also have to come back before the township.
Yeah, we understand.
Yep, okay, no, okay. It just because it's such a narrow use and it generates so little traffic, you know, things are going to trip it very easily if it's changed. Okay, thank you.
That's it?
And Madam Chair, if I may just,
Yeah, I had a couple things as well. Just wanted to clarify. Also, for everyone that doesn't know, my name is Pat Van Burnham. I'm a junior planner with the RI. Just wanted to clarify. Two things that came up that we just wanted to hopefully provide some more testimony on. The first thing was we just wanted to confirm that sort of the parking area being so close to with the proposed business and the parking area having visibility from the highway, that the applicant wasn't intending to have, with the digital sign, that they wouldn't also intend to have another sign functioning in one of the parking areas right there.
We wouldn't be using our truck to double size our signs.
That is what we were hoping for.
We don't advertise for ourselves like that, you know, it's just, I
And then one of the things that we spoke about earlier with regards to the change message sign
Yeah.
was we kind of asked for the area of the sign as well.
On that end, whatever the building department allows me to do, I'm thinking.
Zoning.
Okay.
Or
Well,
the
zoning.
zoning, whatever the size allowed would be. I would like to put a monument-style, double-sided LED. Again, like you see in some municipalities and some school systems. That's what I would like to put. The size, whatever they let me do, I'll conform, I'll
you'll
abide by whatever they
Sure.
say.
You'll conform to the ordinance.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then for reference, just so everyone knows, in the ordinance in section 250-52, the maximum area is 40 square feet.
Right, and I saw that, and that was that was in your.
So that was just part of confirming all the things without having the sign detail.
That was your comment 19, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is correct.
Perfect.
The last thing from my end that I just wanted to clarify was to go over some of the waivers that we also noted. Starting with item number 8 on page 4 of our review letter. They just fall more under design considerations and waivers as opposed to needing variances.
Right.
But we just went through, some of them are required by the zone. For example, 8 regarding benches, trash receptacles, and common sitting areas. No common sitting areas are being proposed here, but it's just noted. Bicycle parking spaces, again, that's a requirement within the zone. Sidewalks within the EDO3 zone. It didn't appear on our review that the proposed sidewalk meets the requirements in the EDO3 zone, so that would be another design waiver. Minimum required dimensions for parking stalls also don't appear to be met, where the minimum requirement is 10 feet in width by 20 feet in depth, and these are 9 by 18. And then backup areas, which we discussed, and curb radii. We just wanted to confirm. So just a number of design waivers, just wanted to clean everything up.
Quick question. One of the things about the sidewalk, which I can't believe I missed, was that sidewalk should be provided along the frontage of the site. And I just want to understand, am I adding sidewalk on the frontage here?
If I may, that NJDOT may force that. They're very
Okay.
big on pedestrian compatibility now. And even though this is a busy highway where you probably have very few pedestrians walking along it, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they asked for sidewalks along the frontage along Route 9.
Okay.
Just mentioning that.
I just want to make sure. All right, so I'm going to add sidewalk, but are we providing the bike rack, or we're not providing?
It would just be a design waiver that would need to be, it would just be a
Okay.
design waiver that would need to be granted.
Do you have any objection with that, or, because we don't really see the need for that in this particular type of operation?
No.
I hope not.
And LED signs on bikes?
Yeah, right,
Madam Chair, if I may, just address, just to address that, unfortunately, our planner, Mrs. Wanton, had to leave for a personal matter, but she did advise that she had spoken with the applicant and is in favor of the application, including the granting of the various variances and waivers being requested. She has no objection to those, provided that the applicant was complying with the report, which they are. So there's no, she has no objections to the granting of these.
Great, thank you.
So are we having a bike rack or we're not having a?
No, they're not proposing it, and she did not request that it had to be. She's acceptable to the granting of the waiver.
And I'm not sure we want to encourage people biking on Route 9, but.
Okay, does that conclude your?
I don't have anything else, no, thank you.
Great.
I have nothing else.
Mr. Lieber, did you want to add anything else? You've covered all the technical, your planning testimony, and everything with the site plan. Are we good?
Yeah, I think I got everything.
Okay, great. Public?
You're done?
Yeah, public, wow, I don't know if you want to.
Okay, does the board have any questions or concerns? Yes, Mr. Lauer.
Your sign that you're going to have a freestanding, I guess, for the building, did you, something about, you're going to advertise on that sign? Or is it?
No, that would be just for.
It's just for yours?
For us, yes. We're not going to put advertisers on it.
Okay, and
It'll be a billboard if you put advertisers on it.
and none proposed for the building? A sign on the building?
No, the median sign is good enough.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Again, we're not trying to attract people to come into our location anyways. To
Right.
by appointment only type of, specific type of, specialty type of business.
Okay, anybody on this side? Yes?
I did, and my question's actually related. So you said the sign was going to be changeable, rotating message, so to speak, but at all times, will it identify that there's a business there? So that this way your patrons they won't miss it, and then you'd be surprised, some people might try and back up on Route 9 or do some crazy stuff.
How would you present the artwork?
Basically, what will be on that sign is this logo and this logo.
Okay.
Changing from one to another, no moving video. A lot of townships do not like moving video, so it'll just be still images, just like you would see on a digital billboard on the highway.
So at all points, at all times, it will identify this is a business here.
Yes, our business.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yes?
On the north side of the building, that's a existing residence,
Correct.
I see. And the proposed setback on that side of the building is what?
It's 25 feet, 8 inches.
And what is the zoning for the setback on it?
So the underlying zone is 25, but there is a 50-foot buffer required when you are adjacent to a residential use.
Are you proposing a fence? I know you said something about a retaining wall. Are you proposing a fence on that side of the building?
We did not have a fence presently. We have a landscape wall and some plantings. Fence could be appropriate there. If that's something you're interested in, we could certainly add a fence.
I'm not suggesting, I'm just bringing the question up.
I have thought of putting a fence there. The neighbors actually, we've met, we've spoken, great guy. And not that we're ever gonna be noisy or anything, or have anybody on that side, but a fence would just for appearances would look really nice. And I thought of, on that side, putting a white PVC fence.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I have a couple. The width of your trucks, and I only ask this because we just repaved the public works yard, and we did the 10 by 20s, and some of our mason dumps, which are probably similar width of your box trucks, it's a little tight. So do you feel confident that the 9-foot wide spots are gonna be wide enough for your vehicles?
The exact width of my trucks. I got two truck styles, single wheel rear trucks and double wheel rear trucks. The double wheel rear trucks are 8 feet wide, and the single wheel rear trucks are 7 feet wide. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So the single wheel trucks are 7 feet wide, and the double wheel rear trucks are 8 feet wide. So yes, they will fit in we park
Little
in
snug,
regular
but you're gonna
parking
make it work?
spaces. Yeah.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because, we were all excited with our 10 by 20s, and all of a sudden, it's like the guys are, sneaking through the trucks. so-
Some dump trucks and some other kinds of trucks are much wider. Yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate that you brought up the conforming with all the state and township regulations on the sign. The banner running across the bottom, runs into an issue, so that you acknowledge that, I appreciate that. It's a 4-bay garage.
Yes.
Do you work on any vehicles, or it's just building of your,
Our trucks, that's it.
okay, so personal maintenance on your equipment, but you don't have a car coming in
No,
working on
no
anything?
automatic, no automotive maintenance, no mechanical, nothing like that.
Perfect. And the last thing I want to mention, parking on the highway is obviously extremely dangerous. We've seen it in other parts of town, and it's a nuisance that, the police department need to get involved, zoning, everybody. So I just want to make sure you're 100% clear. Unloading a truck, even if it's only once in a while, cannot happen.
I think what we've designed offers a simple pull-in driveway, and the area we have as a parking lot is very nice sized. There's no reason why anybody should ever pull over on the highway.
Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from this side? Anybody from this side? Nope.
We just need to open it up to general public comments from the public.
Open general public. Seeing no hands, we'll close the. Attorney summarize?
Yes, thank you. So a motion and vote in favor of this application, we're granting preliminary and final site plan with the requested C variances and design waivers that have been identified and testified to and are also identified and laid out and detailed in the June 25th report from the board's professionals. With regard to conditions, aside from complying with the board professional reports, including the fire marshal report and the conservation officer reports, subject to modifications through the testimony, would be one of the main conditions of approval, in addition to, just to identify a few specific ones, is that let's see, there'd be, I believe that we have testimony that there'd be no truck, or van in the parking area, also used for sign purposes for the business. That the board retains jurisdiction on the specific use of the property, so if there's a change in use, they have to come back before the board. And that the signage will meet the requirements of the township and the state with regard to size, as well as being a operational changing sign. And that's all I have.
Any last comments by the board? Do you have anything to say, or you?
Chairman County, the only thing I would like to add is that, first of all, thank you and your professionals for detailed review of the application. I think, the applicant did its best to comply with and acquiesce with all the recommended conditions, including the granting of including the request for the additional variances and waivers that Mr. Lieber reviewed. And I think this site is well suited for this type of a operation. It's a specialty use, as was noted by your professionals. It's a low generator, and I think we all can agree that this is a tremendous improvement to the existing property. And I would hope that the board would act favorably upon the application, and thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move it.
Second. Second.
Seconded by Mr. Casey. Roll call.
Mr. Lennon?
Yes.
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Petty?
Yes.
Ms. Masella?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Cannon.
Yes, and we appreciate your demeanor.
Thank you very much, and very excited about it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck and welcome to Old Bridge.
Yeah, right.
It's all the
Good luck.
time doing business.
We'll invite you guys to the grand opening. That's the only time there'll be more people than it's supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Happy July 4th.
All right, do we have a motion to, there's nothing else, right?
No, just general public comments. There's no public here, so we're just going to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And to adjourn.
Second, vote,
Who was first?
All in favor? Aye.
adjourn. Now we gotta go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Get so aggravated.